my thumbnail, and this is me, is I also am very interested in working with clergy and the churches on this, so I am open about it. I think that it's, you know, if 1 in 17, and you said 1 in 4 have some mental illness throughout their life, 1 in 17 have a severe mental illness, and 1 in 5 families actually are touched with mental illness of some kind. That means the clergy are on the forefront for people. And so we need to be able to teach people and a pastor to our congregations in a way that's effective. So one of the things that I do is I do share that. I also preach on it at times.
One of the paths that I've followed in my life is I was on a path for several years actually for ordained ministry, and depending on your faith tradition, they do require you to do a psych eval. So it is required, and again, being who I am, I just don't hide who I am and what I've been through. What I have been reading about lately, and I'm hoping that maybe you can be in the forefront of doing something about that, or at least speaking to it, is that there appears to be a growing suicide rate amongst ordained clergy. So as a person who lives with depression and has been on that path, been in some pretty dark places, that conversation needs to happen, and it needs to happen now.
Yeah.
So you might want to Google, Bing, whatever search engine you use, that clergy and suicidality. It's a growing conversation. It needs to happen now.
My tradition, which is different, is required a 3-day psychological assessment. So it spent 3 days in front of different professionals and with the same group and doing different things. And one of the counselor that was pretty new was in a much more conservative tradition than mine, and at the end she wrote up a report that I was not fit for full-time clergy. Because you didn't know that, did you? No. And because the fear that I would fall apart. And one of the things she cited, because I am also open, and I was open with her, was that when I was in 4th or 5th grade, I had a close attempt at suicide. And 4th grade. And here I was, how old was I? I was after 40. You know, and I hadn't had that situation again. And yet she saw that as one of the reasons why I was unfit. I took it to my ecclesiastical board and said, this is ridiculous. You guys know me. This is ridiculous. And so they wrote, and I wrote that agency, and we had it discussed with the actual psychologist that had evaluated me very positively. And they said this isn't, you know, they didn't throw the counselor under the bus, but they did acknowledge that there was maybe some question in there and some facts that weren't given correctly by that counselor and those kind of things. So it's an issue.
Christian tradition, so that's my worldview. God uses us out of our brokenness.
Absolutely.
And if we cannot, so that is the conversation, and that's, you know, people, whatever you decide you want to do with the Bible, you can find scriptural evidence for God using us in our broken places. Right. And so it's a conversation that needs to happen, and so I'd love to have that conversation.